Hey, what's up? It's Fort Knox here from the Adventures of Fort Knox and Kitty Knuckles. And I think, yep, sound is on. We are rolling. We're going to talk about some World of Kings today. Fun game, just came out not too long ago. It's been really interesting to watch like the progression. I love games like this. Used to play World of Warcraft, and this one's very interesting. A lot of these games are like free to play, but a lot of people think that they're play to win. And while there are some advantages that can be gained by paying a little bit here or there, and I'll go into what some of those are, you don't have to pay to be good. I have a couple of characters where I've paid a little, and a couple of characters where I didn't, and I experimented with the two, and I got some really interesting insights on like how that plays out. I also got into an argument with a kid the other day who was like, "I'm better than you. I do DPS, and you're pay to win, and I'm free to play, and I do just as good as you." And I'm like, it's kind of hard to say when you're dead, right? Don't stand in the fire. Anywho, the point is, you don't have to be. I'm going to go through some of this. You don't have to be pay to play or pay to win in order to have fun in the game, and you don't even have to be pay to win to be good at the game. And I figured out a couple of the tips and tricks for leveling up, and I'm going to do those first, and then I'm going to go into like what you do after you hit 60. Probably time-stamped down below. Check that out. Real quick, I'm just going to dive right in. So let's do this. This is my paladin. This is not my first character. This is not my first 60. This is one of my non-paid characters. So I didn't pay really anything on this, with the exception of one thing I will show you, because when you pay for something, it's kind of account-wide. So all the characters on that account can benefit from it, and I'll show you what that is in a minute. Anyway, as you level up, you're going to get quests. Quests that are going to be orange are what they call main quests. Quests that are green are going to be side quests. Quests that are main quests are going to be more XP. Side quests will be a little bit less. And they're going to be like one and done. They're not going to really chain together. Some of them will have chain links in it, and follow them all. They're great. I like to wait and do all of my side quests like toward the end, because, and I'll tell you what I mean by toward the end. So every kind of 5 levels, you're kind of capped, right? It's a throttling part of the game. When you hit 25, you have to wait until you hit 25 for the next part of the main storyline to kind of open up. When you hit 30, right, that's the next cap. So if you hit 29 and you run out of your main quest, a little notification where the main quest should be will pop up, and it'll say, you must hit 30 in order to progress through the storyline, blah, 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 blah. You can do dungeons. I'll show you here, you can actually do dungeons. You can do, World of Events doesn't come up until later. You can do dungeons, normal dungeons, adventure dungeons. You can do all of these things, and I'll go through a lot of what these are in a minute. But the key thing to remember is try to sandbag and hold off on doing any dungeons until you absolutely have to push over, like, say, 29 to 30. And then when you get to 30, personally, I just left. Like, the moment in a dungeon that I got to 30, I left. Because every time you loot a boss, it spins 15 stamina. And you get 150 stamina, which means you can loot 10 bosses, right? And then throughout the different dungeons, there's a bunch of different bosses. So I just left. The penalties for leaving are small, and the matchmaking system will find a replacement. So the moment that I would hit that next tier, I left, because I want to sandbag all of the stamina possible toward the next end. Now, that being said, I would go back to the main quest and keep leveling up through the main quest. Don't worry about your gear. Your gear doesn't matter at this point. You're going to be getting so much of it and so frequent, and it's going to be updating. Just ignore all of that. Now, I will say this. When you hit 40, you do want to be careful about which subclass you decide to specialize in. So when you go to your talents and you're looking at your different trees, like for the paladin here, you have this one to begin with. And then when you hit 40, you can specialize in one of these 3. And that's part of the main storyline, so you kind of have to do it. The same with the archer and the cleric, as they're a part of this. I like to call them archetypes. This is what I call the support archetype as a whole. So paladins, clerics, and archers. Archers can do high DPS, or they can be one of the best supports in the game. Paladins have 2 tank classes. They're very different. One carries a shield, and the other is like a 2-handed tanker with some self-heals and some buffs. So you kind of want to be careful about what you pick. And the reason I say that is because as you then move forward, the game is going to start feeding you gear that is specific to the class traits for that subclass. For example, when I go into here and you look at your character has strength, endurance, spirit, agility, intelligence. They don't all benefit from all of these, right? So tankier ones, they're going to stack stamina gear. So they're going to throw a ton of stamina gear if you're leveling as a tank at you. And then you're like, oh, hey, I want to try the DPS one out. And then you switch to DPS. The gear is going to be all stamina gear. You're going to do 0 DPS. And I'll go into that becomes relevant later. And I'll give you something to kind of look out for when you're grouping with people on your server. That's like a little heads up to know if they suck or not. But anyway, that being said, pick one of those, keep leveling up, follow that. When you get to like those roadblocks, do these. I highly recommend doing the adventure dungeons. They do give the most XP. They give more XP than the normals, but they cost the same amount of stamina, so you get a better bang for your buck there. On the events are truly amazing. They give probably some of the most stamina, period. Experience, period, for like a single shot thing. Also, the Path of Erudition, do those later, and your guild campfire. So your guild has campfires, so join a guild as soon as you possibly can. I think you can do it pretty early, because not only do you get to join, that's not what I was looking for. I was looking for guild. Guild campfires give a lot of XP, and the XP scales with your level. It also scales with your guild level. So the higher your guild level, the higher the XP bonus that you'll get. So try to join like a level 2 guild versus a level 1 guild. If you can get into a level 3 guild, good for you. If you're leveling up and you're low level, they might not take you, so just take what you can get. Get in one and get in early as you can and start soaking up that XP from those little things. Also, the moment that you get in, you're going to start getting these. They are guild quests. They come in 12 at a time. And you do them. You basically set them. I set them up and I accept the quests. And then instead of going and doing them, I just turn them in and I get all that experience. Instead of going and doing them, I just accept them and move on. Now you can refresh some of them. So some that are legendary, some that are epic, and some that are common quality, some that are basic quality, like gray. That doesn't matter in terms of experience. They all give the same amount of experience. However, it does matter in terms of what the guild gets, and contribution points for your guild contribution, for like what you get as guild contribution points, which becomes important later when you go to buy other gear or helpful little things that help you kind of level up your skills. So as of now, just take them the moment you can, and I just let them go in the background while I finish doing my other quests, and I just keep going at them until I hit one of those roadblocks. Then I might take a stab at like knocking a few of them out. Most likely they're going to send you to a dungeon, which is a no-no. Sandbag those dungeons, right? So just let those suckers tick away in the background, and that'll help maximize your XP as you level up. Now, once you hit 60, the game changes. You're going to get a quest. It's going to tell you to do all of these different things. You're going to unlock this super epic weapon. I've already unlocked mine, so I can't show you that on this character, and I don't have a character right now that's on the cusp of that. Actually, I do. Give me a second. I can log into that character. Anyway, skipped ahead because I had some technical difficulties trying to figure out how to log into the other account that I have. So we're going to scratch that and just move forward with the video. When you hit level 60, things change. You get this epic quest for a legendary weapon. That weapon looks like this, or you pick what it is when you get it. Anywho, there's a couple of key things to start noticing. Your gear level, which is here, you can go into your inventory and you can see your gear level up here, and then you start to get what are called these bloodline. So as you level up past 60, yes, that's right, you're not done yet. You're going to keep leveling up. I'll go into character and show you bloodline. You get this tab here. Bloodline allows you to level up beyond 60. And as you do, each of these becomes eligible for you to put points into by fusing crowns into experience points. And then you start to gain stat bonuses. Now, the stat bonuses themselves are not super amazing. You get a couple here or there each time that you do it. It's not super big deal. I think each time that you level up, you're going to get 1 additional point on your character rating, so it's not a big deal. It is not an indicator that someone is strong. However, I will say that if you see somebody with like a 100 bloodline level, it's capped just like the rest of your experience. There's only so much you can do in a day. So while the bloodline itself doesn't give you a lot of strength, the fact that someone's reached level 100 on their bloodline means they've been playing that character consistently for a while and leveling it up, and therefore have accumulated a lot of other things along the way that probably do make them powerful. So if you're doing some PvP and you see that number floating around and it's pretty high, keep an eye out. Like it's Danger Will Robbins, right? You know what I'm saying? All right, cool. Now, when you open your character screen, what you're going to see is you're going to see your character's level. You finally hit level 60. You're going to see your bloodline level, which is over here. You are also going to see down here your character's rating, yeah, and also your gear level. Now, there are a lot of the raid dungeons and things like that are level locked for your gear level, not your character level or your bloodline level, but your gear level. So your gear level itself has to be of a certain caliber, and then also nothing really blocks your character rating as of yet, but it's really gear level locked. But I'll go into how your character rating matters. So I think I can show you. So when I switch to, let's say, because I unlocked the Dragon Rider. So when I switch to the Dragon Rider, my character rating is actually going to change. You see it go up. Now, that's because tanks normally get a higher gear rating than DPS anyway. So you'll always see tanks come in as a higher gear rating anyhow. But let's say that I was leveling and I was doing this on like a healer on a healer. Well, I actually on a mage. I leveled on my mage and then I switched to a different DPS class. So I leveled as a tank and then switched to a DPS class. And my character rating for DPS dropped. That's because as I was leveling as a tank, I was getting all of the gear for tanks. And then when I switched specs to a DPS spec, my gear was not for tanks. It was for DPS. So my rating was bad. My character rating was bad because I was looking at tank gear. So if people are looking at you and they say, "Oh man, you've got a 90 gear rating," you see somebody with like a 90 or a high 80 gear rating, and then their character rating is right around 4,000 or maybe even sub 4,000. That's a red flag. That means that like their gear and their gems and their enchantments are not for the spec that they're currently in. So be mindful of that, because you may go into a dungeon and need somebody who's in a DPS role to do DPS, because later the bosses will one-shot the entire team if you can't kill them fast enough. There is a time limit on some of the bosses, so you can fight them, and then like 9-10 minutes in, if you haven't killed it yet, it's just gonna kill your team like instantly. I don't care if you're at 10% health or 5% boss health, that sucker is just gonna wipe you. So there's kind of like a gear check place that becomes really important there, and I'll go into why. Because the best place, a lot of people think that leveling up beyond 60, you focus on the guild, right? The guild has events that you can do. I don't see any here, but there are raids. I'll come up here and show you the raids. These are the normal dungeons. These are advanced dungeons. You'll see that advanced dungeons give you 70 to 85 level gear, or 83 level gear. That's not gonna get you anywhere. But what unlocks after you do the quests, as you're level 60, as you keep doing the quests, what continues to unlock are what we call Overlord dungeons. And Overlord dungeons are the cool thing. So hopefully, if you're interested in leveling beyond 60 and you check the timestamps and you skipped ahead, you're going to be looking at this. Your gear level is important. It is the litmus test, right? So you'll see that you're locked out. You'll see your gear level and the recommended gear level. You are actually locked out of those dungeons, and you cannot matchmake. So I'll show you here. I can cross-server matchmake because I totally fit this. I'm going to leave the queue. I don't want to be in the queue. I just wanted to show you guys. I can totally get into this one. I can cross queue into this one. Again, I think it's because I'm still in tank spec, but I'm getting instant Qs. It never happens. Pain, on the other hand, the minimum gear check is 90, and I cannot queue cross server. It'll tell me your gear needs to be higher level in order to go up. Now, the cool thing is when you complete one of these, you get a key, and that key is going to open this door the next day. That key will give you a piece of gear that is higher rated based on which of these that you do. So if you do hard and it's at 70, you'll get a piece of 80 gear. If you do this torment and the gear check is 80, you'll get a piece of 90 gear. And if you do this and the gear check is 90, you'll get a piece of 100 plus gear. While you cannot get in cross server, you can get in on your own server. And we've actually done it where a couple of level 86s and maybe a 90, maybe somebody was like 92, 93, and some 86s, we're easily able to do pain. And then we can jump from getting level 86 gear to level 102 gear. This is probably the best and fastest way to get quick gear. All you need is a couple of good friends who know how to play a game and enjoy challenges. Because it's not going to be easy. Up until this point, you hit a dungeon, you click auto, the dungeons go. You really don't even have to play the game in a lot of ways. You can like enter a dungeon, put it on auto, set it down, and do some like wash dishes or something, and come back to it, and hey, you beat all the bosses, right? Some of these are that easy. Well, the Overlord dungeons are not. They're the same dungeons you've been running, but they have different little perks down here where they deal more damage, or they'll all knock you up. It's really fun when you get to Incubus. I haven't yet done Chaotic, and Hell isn't even unlocked yet for anyone on the servers, so I'm really looking forward to doing these. I have tried Incubus a couple of times with some friends, and we were right around like the 90 gear level mark, so when you hit the tier 4, it's advisable for everybody in the group to be above 90 and as close to like 95 as possible. But you can't queue for this if you're under 100. So if everybody's at 95 and you're scooping up level 110 gear, you're still doing a good job. The key is you have to queue up on your server. So in order to do that, guilds come in really handy here. If your guild is active, if your guild is friendly, if they're helpful, you can be like, hey, help me out. I need to run some dungeons. Can we do some Overlord? They call them OL. OL3 will be good. OL4 will be good. Like, if you're not in a sucky guild and you're in a good guild, people will be willing to help you. You'll know the difference because people will either be willing to help you or not. There's only so much you can do in the game. And honestly, like once you're done with those things, like it's kind of self-serving. There's not much else to do. So like you play the game to play with other people. You play the game to PvP, to PvE, like to do your thing. As you start to do your Overlord dungeons, this bar starts to fill up. Every time you do one, you get more and more points, and they fill into this bar. And each time you do, you can get a treasure chest. You get 2 silvers for this one. You come here and you get a golden chest here, and then when you finally get up here, you get this sucker, which is like the magnanimous ultimate chest. Ultimate chest. Anyhow, this is the best way, and this is the best strategy that you can do. The raid dungeons are nice, but the raid gear even caps out at 88, which is not very helpful. 88 is not going to get you far. It'll get you right back into the Overlord dungeons, and that's it. The Overlord dungeons are the key way to level up. World events and things like that, not so much. Even the guild raids, right? So here's the guild raid section. The gear that drops out of this first tier raid for your guild is level 70, not helpful. This gear that drops out of this one's level 90, good, but then this gear doesn't come to you. It goes to the guild auction house, and even if it's level 90, it gets auctioned off in the auction house, and you have to spend your gold and buy it. Now you can accumulate gold by playing, like acquiring things that you don't need and selling them in the auction house, and that's a video for another time. But this right here, this boss is insanely hard. His loot gear is 100, and the minimum required gear to get in is 80. But I've fought this guy with a full group, and we didn't DPS him fast enough, and he did in fact wipe us. It is a fun, very, very fun raid, and there's lots of stuff that drops. But I will tell you this: he's gonna kick your butt if you're not geared. And the best, fastest way to get geared is this: if you're doing this Overlord dungeons every single day, you can get a piece of gear that's on level. So if you have, say, you play even just 5 nights, you just log on for an hour or even 40 minutes or 30 minutes and run this and then log off each day, you can get a piece of gear. And when you look at your character slot, you can knock out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of gear in 1 week. Half your gear can already be level 100. Like, you can be well on your way to completely ranking up and demolishing those dungeons. So that's it. That's the guide. That's the best thing I can do to help you work through your way in this game. Maybe I'll see you in there. I'm on Frost Hill 4 server if you want. Join up with us. At the bottom of this, I am going to start a Google form. And if you want to, you can participate by filling out the Google form and kind of letting us know what nights you want to run on, when you're available, what your Discord name is, what your character name is, what your class is, so that we can kind of help put some groups together and start maybe helping some people on the server get some better gear. So by all means, if you're interested, follow that link, fill that form out. The guild that I'm doing this with is Sub Genius. They have been kind enough to kind of help pull together some of the resources, some of the people needed, and kind of commit their help to helping the first few. And we're hoping that as we do that, more people will be interested in helping others get the gear as well. And we'll have a couple of teams running at the same time to try and help everybody in the guild get built up, and maybe even help recruit other people from other guilds to help join ours and make them stronger. I know a lot of other guilds right now are not doing this. They're trying to run the raids, and they're trying to run the world bosses, and they're really, oh, we want to do world bosses, and we want to do this. I'm like, you don't get jack for those. It goes right into the guild auction house. It does not put anything back into your pocket. You not only have to put the time into killing that sucker, which the world bosses, you have to face PvP as well as the world bosses. You get killed by players as well as the bosses, which is fun. Look, it's totally fun. But don't get yourself wrong. It's entertainment. It's not how you gear up. How you gear up is right here. Like, that is for flair and for kudo points. This will get you geared, and it'll get you geared quick. If you got some people who are like early 90 who are good at the game and you can push into tier 4, you are going to be coming out with like a level 110 piece of gear. You are going to be powerful fast. I mean, super fast. Anyway, that's all I've got. It's Fort Knox. You can check us out. We do stream live several times a week at Facebook, so you can go to fb.gg. That's Facebook Gaming, fb.gg, and then /II, Fort Knox II. I'll also put that link right down below. Sometimes we go live on Twitch, and that's twitch.tv/II, Fort Knox II. Also, I'll put that one below. And I hope this video was helpful. I hope you share the heck out of it. And I hope you come play with us at World of Kings.